Anthony Kim is back.
He's back.
And I don't just mean, he showed up for a ceremonial paycheck and missed the cut by 10.
No, not at all.
I mean, Sunday at Livy Golf Adelaide, the guy posts the final round 63.
That's 63. -9.
He took down a leaderboard with Bryson DeChambeau, John Rahm, all breathing down his neck, won by 3 shots.
It's a headline that, frankly, sounds like fan fiction. I mean, if you had told me this 2 years ago, I would have laughed you out of the room.
Exactly. We're talking about a guy who had a 16-year competitive silence.
50 years.
He vanished in 2012, became like this mythological creature, the Yeti of golf, and then comes back at age 40 to win against current major champions.
It is the ultimate sports comeback story.
It is, but, and this is why we're here today, I think the comeback narrative is actually, well, it's lazy.
It is. It misses the point entirely.
Right.
If you look closely at the sources we have today, and the stack is pretty thick here, we've got biomechanical data, 2010 versus 2025, academic studies.
On pelvic velocity.
Exactly. An expert analysis on injury prevention. This isn't a comeback. It's a complete reinvention.
That's the mission for this deep dive. We are not here to get misty-eyed about the nostalgia or the belt buckles.
No.
We are here to figure out how a golfer disappears for a decade and returns with a completely different, scientifically optimized engine.
And optimized is the key word. He didn't just dust off the old swing. He built a new one from the ground up.
So if you're a learner who wants to understand the physics of a modern swing, moving beyond swing harder to actually understanding efficiency and preserving your body, this is the deep dive for you.
Let's get into it.
To really get the magnitude of what Kim just did, we have to look at the landscape shift first. The game he walked away from in 2012, I mean, that sport just doesn't exist anymore.
Not even close. It's almost a different sport entirely. If you look at the world rankings from May 2012, the top players were guys like Luke Donald, Steve Stricker.
Incredible players, absolute tacticians with a wedge.
Absolutely Hall of Fame talents. But they weren't bombers. Distance was an advantage, sure, but it wasn't the prerequisite to survival that it is today.
You could plot your way around.
You really could. You could reach #1 in the world doing it.
And today?
Today, just look at the top 10. Scheffler, McIlroy, Rahm, Aberg. Almost every single one of them averages over 300 yards off the tee.
It's a power game.
Completely. And get this. In 2007, Anthony Kim was considered long. He was ranked 12th on tour with a 302-yard average last season. That 302 average wouldn't even crack the top 80.
That is wild to think about. So the long ball from his era is just average now.
It is.
That has to be terrifying for a guy coming back. You walk onto the range and everyone is just flying it past you.
He forces your hand. You can't compete with feel anymore. And that brings us to the tech. I read in our source stack that Kim only recently learned how to actually use a TrackMan.
Which sounds crazy to us now, but back then, a launch monitor was, what, a radar unit some club fitter had in a basement?
Yes, exactly. In 2012, radar units were rare on the range. Now you have optical launch monitors, AI apps like Sportsbox, shot tracing on every single broadcast.
Right.
Back then, if you hit a bad shot, you just guessed. Maybe I was quick. Today, the machine tells you your spin rate was 200 RPMs too high.
You can't hide from the data.
No, you can't. And you can't ignore the financial incentive either. The money is just different.
Oh, completely.
It changes the risk profile. In 2012, Rory McIlroy led the money list with about $8 million. Last season, Victor Hovland made over $37 million. When the stakes are that high, you can't just rely on artistry. You have to be a machine.
You have to be repeatable.
Because variance costs you millions.
So Kim comes back into this hyper-optimized, data-driven, high-stakes casino, and instead of trying to be the 25-year-old him, he changes the blueprint.
He had to.
Let's dive into that data, because we have a direct comparison of his biomechanics from 2010 versus 2025.
This is where it gets fascinating. We've got data from Sportsbox AI that breaks it all down in 3D.
Okay, so if you had to label the 2010 swing.
The one we all fell in love with, yeah. You'd call it elastic.
Explosive.
And lateral. Very lateral.
And the 2025 version.
Efficient, centered, and controlled.
Okay, let's break down the chest turn. In 2010, AK was famous for that massive coil. I mean, he looked like he was trying to tear the back of his shirt.
He was. The data shows he had a negative 98-degree chest turn at the top.
Negative 98. And for context, what's the PGA Tour average?
Around negative 87 degrees.
So he was turning 11 degrees past the average pro. That's huge.
He was stretching that rubber band as far as humanly possible.
Yeah.
Just maximizing potential energy.
And now, in 2025.
It's down to negative 93 degrees.
Okay, I have to play devil's advocate here. 5 degrees, that sounds like a rounding error. Does 5 degrees really change that much?
In elite biomechanics, 5 degrees is massive. But it's not just about the number, it's the consequence of that number. When you turn 98 degrees, unless you're incredibly flexible, you introduce a lot of slack into the system.
Well, slack.
Yeah, imagine pulling a bowstring back so far your arm starts to shake. It's powerful, sure, but it's unstable, and it takes longer to unwind.
It requires perfect timing.
Perfect timing. By tightening that turn to 93, he's removing the slack. He's trading maximal range for efficient range.
So she's not chasing amplitude anymore, he's chasing control.
Exactly.
But that leads us to the data point that actually made me stop and reread the chart, the sway gap.
This is the most critical concept. If you take one thing away from this deep dive, let it be the sway gap.
Okay, so define it for us clearly. What are we measuring?
Simply put, it's the horizontal distance between the center of your chest and the center of your pelvis.
Right.
And we usually see it as a negative number if the chest is behind the pelvis, so farther away from the target.
Okay, I'm visualizing this. If I set up and lean way back on my right foot, that's a big negative sway gap.
Correct. Now look at Kim's data. In 2010, at address, before he even moved the club, his sway gap was negative 3.6 inches.
He was already leaning back, preset for a launch.
Right. But in 2025, it's negative 2.2 inches. He's more centered, more stacked over the ball.
But the real shocker is at impact.
This is the aha moment. In 2010, at the moment of impact, his sway gap was negative 6.7 inches.
Wow.
Think about that. His chest was almost 7 inches behind his hips. He was hanging back, creating this massive tilt to launch the ball.
And in 2025,
Negative 4.6 inches. He's over 2 inches closer to being stacked vertically on top of the ball.
okay, this is where I get stuck though. We're taught that lag and tilt create power. Why is hanging back bad? It sounds like leverage.
It is leverage, but it's high-risk leverage. When you hang back that much, that 6.7 inches, your low point control becomes really volatile.
How so?
The club's moving up so fast that you have to rely entirely on your hands to square the club face at the absolute last millisecond.
So if your timing is off by just a fraction.
You hook it off the planet or you block it into the trees. It requires youth. It requires reflexes.
Okay.
By staying more stacked, reducing that sway gap, Kim reduces the need for that last-second manipulation. He isn't relying on his hands to save him.
He's relying on his body rotation to square the club.
Exactly.
One of the analysts in the notes called this grown man ball striking versus youthful elasticity.
That's the perfect way to frame it. The 2010 swing was a young man's swing. The 2025 swing is a professional swing. It's, boring, but it works.
Boring wins. But here's the million-dollar question. He's turning less, swaying less, but he's still winning. He's still hitting it far enough to hang with Bryson. Where's the power coming from?
This brings us to the engine, the pelvis and the glutes. We have a study here, an analysis of peak pelvis rotation speed that sheds a lot of light on this.
Right. This study compared high handicap golfers to low handicap golfers. What did they find?
A massive difference in how the pelvis moves. The low handicap players had significantly faster peak pelvis rotation speeds.
How much faster?
We're talking 503 degrees per second versus just 380 for high handicappers.
Wow, that's a huge gap.
It is. But here's the connection. The study also found that the low handicappers had significantly stronger gluteus maximus and medius muscles.
The glutes are the king of the golf swing. We hear that all the time, but why?
It's all about the kinetic chain. Think of the swing like snapping a wet towel.
Okay.
The energy starts from the ground, moves into the pelvis, then the thorax, the chest, then the arm, and finally the club.
So the pelvis has to fire first.
Yes, it has to accelerate rapidly, and then, and this is the counterintuitive part, it has to decelerate.
Decelerate.
It has to slam on the brakes to transfer that energy up to the chest. It's like in a car. The passengers fly forward when you brake. When the pelvis brakes, the torso slingshots.
Ah, that makes sense. If the hips just keep spinning, the energy never transfers up.
It just leaks out. You just spin out. You need that stability to create the snap.
But here's the problem for most of us listening. We don't have that separation. My hips and shoulders turn together like a block of wood. I assume that kills the speed.
Kills the speed, destroys consistency. And that is where modern life fights us. We have to talk about the sitting disease.
Oh, I feel this one personally. The C posture.
Right. We spend all day hunched over computers, scrolling on phones.
Yeah.
That rounds the upper back, the thoracic spine. And when your upper back is rounded, it locks up.
You literally can't rotate.
You can't. You lose the X factor stretch, that rubber band effect. So if you can't rotate, your body has to compensate to create power. And how does it do that?
By sliding,
Bang.
by swaying.
Which brings us right back to Anthony Kim. In 2010, he had that massive sway. Now, by tightening his turn and staying stacked, he is optimizing that kinetic chain. He's relying on rotation, powered by the glutes, not lateral momentum.
It sounds like he just cleaned up the slack in the chain. He's not throwing his body side to side, he's spinning in a barrel.
Precisely. Less movement, but cleaner energy transfer.
I want to pivot to the why behind all this. I mean, winning is great, but there's a darker side to that 2010 swing. The injury factor.
For sure.
We know he had surgery on his Achilles, but his back, it had to be a ticking time bomb.
Without a doubt. If we look at the biomechanics of that old swing, remember the negative 6.7-inch sway gap at impact.
Yeah.
That means his hips are way forward and his upper body is way back. It creates this pretty severe curve in the spine.
That looks painful just thinking about it.
That's what we call the crunch factor. You have high lateral side bend combined with high rotation speed. That creates massive shear forces on the lumbar spine.
So you're basically grinding those discs together under load.
That's a good way to put it. The stats on low back pain in golf are staggering. 28 to 35% of golfers deal with it. It's the #1 injury in the sport.
And his old swing was basically a recipe for it.
Use borrowing time.
So the 2025 stacked model isn't just about hitting the fairway, it's about being able to walk the next day.
It's biological necessity. I mean, we have to be realistic about aging. Research shows muscle strength starts to drop in your 30s. After 50, it drops about 10% per decade. Kim is 40.
He's right in that transition zone. He can't rely on the elasticity of a 20-year-old anymore.
No. His tissues literally can't handle the same stress. By reducing that sway gap, he's minimizing those shear forces. He's shifting to a joint preservation swing.
It reminds me of early extension. We hear that term a lot. How does this all relate?
Early extension is the killer of amateur swings. It's when your hips thrust toward the ball in the downswing, forcing you to stand up.
The goat hump, my instructor calls it.
Yeah, exactly. When Kim stays stacked, he doesn't need to thrust. He creates space by staying centered and just rotating.
Gotcha.
And for the listener, fixing your sway gap often fixes that early extension automatically.
Okay, let's make this practical. We've geeked out on the numbers, but what can the listener actually take away from this? If I'm at the range tomorrow, what should I be thinking about?
Based on the sources, there are a few concrete things. First, think about the sequence. Shift, rotate, rise.
Shift, rotate, rise. Break that down.
The downswing starts with a slight pressure shift to the lead foot. That's the shift. Then you clear the hips. That's the rotate. And finally, you push up from the ground. That's the rise.
And Kim used to have a massive slide, then a flip. He skipped the middle part.
He did. Now he's much more efficient with that shift-rotate pattern. He gets to his left side, but he doesn't slide past it.
There was also a really interesting point about the grip in the notes. We tend to overlook the grip when we talk big biomechanics.
It's huge, and it's often ignored. The data suggests that your ideal backswing depends on your grip. If you have a strong grip.
Seeing 3 or 4 knuckles on the left hand.
Right. With that strong grip, you can actually afford a little more sway. You can slide a bit because the club face is already shut. You don't need to rotate as aggressively. Yeah. But, this is a big but, if you have a weak or neutral grip, you need a more centered rotational turn. You can't combine a weak grip with a big sway. You'll never square the face in time.
You'll slice it every time.
Every single time.
So the takeaway is, match your body motion to your hands. Don't fight your own DNA.
Exactly. Don't try to swing like Dustin Johnson if you're holding the club like Ben Hogan.
And I think the biggest golden rule here comes back to that chest turn number.
Don't chase amplitude. We all want to turn 100 degrees like Rory, but if you can't do it without swaying off the ball, you're just creating a fake turn.
A fake turn. I like that. What does that feel like?
It feels tight, so you think you're coiled, but really you haven't wound up at all. You've just drifted away from the target. Kim reduced his turn from 98 to 93 and got better.
So focus on sequence control.
Not just how far back you can drag the club.
That's powerful. It's not how big the engine is, it's how well it's tuned.
Exactly.
So to wrap this up, Anthony Kim didn't just come back. He evolved.
He optimized. He went from being a launcher, high variability, high stress, to being a machine. Stable, repeatable, controlled.
And the bigger picture is that we only know this because of the tech. In 2012, we would have just said, oh, he looks smoother. Now we can quantify why he won.
We can see that efficiency beats raw effort. And we can see you don't need to swing like you're 20 to win. You just need to control your space better.
Which leaves us with a thought for you, the listener. Next time you're standing over the ball, ask yourself, are you trying to swing like the 20-year-old version of yourself?
Are you chasing a range of motion you don't have, creating stress your back doesn't want?
Or are you ready to optimize for the body you have today?
Efficiency isn't about doing less. It's about doing it right.
Thanks for diving deep with us. We'll catch you on the next one.